For 11, game night. It was all a mistake. Jennifer woke up Saturday morning bright and early. She stretched out as the sun beamed down on her face. She yawned and stepped outside of bed and moved over to her nightstand. She picked up her phone to check for text messages, checking to see if Ted responded. Her texts looked lonely on the screen. Ted, we're meeting at my house for some games. Samantha, Michael, Tim and Erin. I did invite a few more that I'm not sure you met or not. Text me later. The text message was alone, like it didn't want a response. She stared down at it, contemplating what to do with it. She put the phone on the nightstand again and crossed her arms around her chest, violently tapping her arm with an intense index finger. Tedward! She finally decided to pick up the phone again and hit the phone icon. The phone rang, dialing the number that Ted gave her. I really hope he didn't give me a fake number. If he did, there's nothing I can do. The phone rang a second time. Come on, Tedward, wakey wakey! It rang a third time before forwarding to his voicemail. You've reached Ted. I'm sorry I can't get to the phone right now. Please leave your name, phone number, and a brief reason for your call, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Beep. Ted, this is Jennifer. I hope you're not ignoring me. Please get back to me. You're invited to my place for some games and dinner today. Hello? The voice on the other end of the phone picked up. Jennifer was surprised, not thinking that cell phones would allow someone to answer mid-voicemail. Her smile lit up her room, even though only she was in it. Hey there, buddy! This is Jennifer. I know, he chuckled. I memorized your number. How may I help you? So, the reason I'm calling is because I'm hosting a small group of friends. I'm not expecting more than 10 of us for games, drinks and food at my place today. We're starting around noon today, and I want to invite you here for that also. She brought down the excitement in her voice, speaking softly into the phone. By the way, we missed you this week. I see. His voice went soft over the phone. This is kind of sudden, to be frank. I texted you Tuesday about it. You never answered, she said back to him. Come on, what better way to get closer to your friends over games and fellowship? I don't know. What, do you have plans already? Jennifer asked him. No. Then come on. Look, if it means that much to you, you can take me shopping next week, she joked. I don't recall making an active effort to take you shopping, he replied. Well, at least I got a full sentence out of you. Can you do me a favour? She asked. He chuckled on the other end of the phone. What? Do you have a pen and some paper? She asked. I do. Take my address down. You're coming? I won't take no for an answer. What am I, your servant? He asked. There was some silence on the phone. Jennifer turned her head and then back to the phone as if she was consulting an imaginary friend. He might find this funny. Yes. He burst out laughing on the other end of the phone. As you wish, my lady. There's the romantic Tedward I know. She laughed and gave him her address, certain that he was actually writing it down. Ted, it starts at 12 o'clock p.m. You can come early or come later. Or on time. That's cool too. Up to you. But you are coming. Or I'll track you down to the end of the earth and feed you my amazing boxed macaroni and ketchup. Ketchup? He sounded confused. There may or may not be cheese involved in some way, shape or form. I don't know. Maybe you don't have to find out, huh? Just come. She joked. Do you need me to bring anything? Just yourself, she answered. I see. He gave his reserved, few-word answer. I speak for myself and everyone coming that you should also bring clothes. Yeah, that's a good idea. Don't come naked. That would make for a rude awakening, although a very comical story a year down the road. He chuckled again. Okay, I'll see you there. Is there anything else? Nope, just give me a time when you'll be here. I'll probably make my own lunch, so I'll probably be there around 1. Okay, we'll see you then, she exclaimed before hanging up the phone. She immediately started a group chat with Michael, Tim, Erin and Samantha. He's coming. He'll be here around 1 o'clock p.m. today. She hastily went over to her kitchen and poured herself a bowl of cereal and milk. She started cataloguing the games she wanted to have available for them, as well as making the plans to order the pizza. She swiftly ate her cereal before arranging things around the living room, making plenty of space available for the acting game. She didn't have the cards for the physical game, but it was a close substitute. Hours passed by. Jennifer had gotten everything ready. The drinks were in her cooler, and of course the pizza was on its way. She ordered 4 pies to be safe. Pepperoni, chicken and broccoli, cheese, margarita pizza. That would satisfy everyone with their dietary restrictions. She didn't think any of them were vegans, God forbid, at least it wasn't clear. However, she did in fact know Tim was a vegetarian. There was a knock on the door. She quickly glanced at her watch, which read 12:03 p.m. She immediately went to the door to answer it. Samantha smiled as the door was opened. She entered the apartment. Sorry I'm late. There was some problem on the red line today. What happened? Did it derail or something? I hate that line, Jennifer asked. Michael was behind her. He lived in the same neighbourhood over by Davis Square, the place he calls heaven on earth. Michael laughed. When was the last time you heard someone say they liked the red line? It's like asking if a morbidly obese man likes the tapeworm inside his own belly. Now that's a specific analogy, if I ever heard one, Jennifer said, her face twisted in disgust. I'm not touching any of the chicken now. By the way, the pizza should be here in about half an hour. Great, I'm famished, Michael smirked. It's barely noon, Jennifer mocked him. I swear, where do you put it all? Fast metabolism, he chuckled. Wow, I wish I had the ability to eat the things you do and not gain weight. She was about to shut the door. Wait, came a familiar cry. Jennifer looked out of the hallway of her apartment to see Tim sprinting down the corridor. I'm here. Don't start without me. Tim, she smiled at him and placed a hand defensively on her chest. I would never. Oh, yes, you would, he shot back as he came bolting down the corridor and stopped the door ajar. He panted. You're right, she laughed, tossing her hair back. I'm a monster. Sam and Michael already took a seat on one of the sofas. Michael's arm was around her shoulder. Jennifer, did Brian say he was coming? Yes, he did. And you know he'll bring you know who, Jennifer said. She looked at the watch. 12:10 p.m. But you know him, he probably went to bed 7 hours ago, so he'll probably just be waking up if he's even up already. He probably won't be here till closer to 3. That's a man that knows how to show up fashionably late. She turned to Tim, who was still panting. Tim, I have some bottled water in the cooler. Go get some. No, thank you, he panted while making his way to his seat. You know, yes, I know, environmentally friendly and all that, Jennifer sneered. Well, I have some plastic cups you can get tapped. Don't you have real cups? Tim stared at her blankly. Tim, do I look like some girl who wants to wash her dishes all the time? She snapped at him. Of course I do. She walked over to the cupboard, grabbed a cup and filled it with water to give to Tim. So, I want to know, Samantha said to Jennifer, how did you get Ted to agree to come? Well, I called him this morning. He finally picked up the phone as I was leaving a salty voicemail. She put her fingers to her lips, but her smile never faded. I talked him into going. He tried to push back, but I wouldn't let him get out of his corner. Well, that must be... Michael began. Ring! Jennifer took out her phone and looked at the caller ID. Erin. She answered the phone. You've reached the city morgue. You kill 'em, we chill 'em. Tim spat out water from his mouth. Hey, Tim, you clean that up, Jennifer scolded him. Erin was chuckling on the other line. Which door do I enter? It's apartment number 658. I'm on the 6th floor. When you come out of the elevator, take a left. See you soon. Bye-bye now. She hung up the phone. Tim, who gave you permission to spit water all over my floor? You must have been the class clown, Michael replied. Oh, dear, sweet little carpet, she said. That wasn't me. That was some guy named David, a terribly dreadful little creature. You read Jane Austen last night again, didn't you? Sam accused, shaking her head. You know it. Jane Austen a day keeps depression away, she laughed. Or was it something to do with apples? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a researcher. There was a knock on the door. Erin or pizza? Erin, Michael answered. Jennifer went to open the door, and Michael was correct. Welcome in. Excuse the spit. Tim did it. Tim, are you done cleaning? Good grief, I give you my glorious tap water, and this is how you repay me. Some friend. The room was filled with laughter as Erin walked in. Jennifer was confident around her friends, but it did take some people some time to get used to her. She knew that. After all, she came off as an unlikable jerk, but that's her love language, and that's the way I like it. She looked at her watch again. 12:20 p.m. Pizza running late? Michael asked. Not yet, Jennifer said. Jennifer lounged next to Tim on the couch. Michael had his arm wrapped around Samantha's shoulders, and Erin was poking about Jennifer's bookshelves, looking at the impressive Jane Austen collection in a variety of different editions. Jennifer smiled as Erin pet the spines so casually, especially the leather-bound editions reprinted in '08. I recommend Sense and Sensibility. That's my personal favourite. Jennifer, Erin gazed back at her, how many times have you reread this collection, and why do you have so many? I reread the collection yearly. You might call me the hopeless romantic. Ted bug? Erin sneered. Taken aback, Jennifer turned her head to the side, and her cheeks blushed red. Maybe. A half hour passed, and there was another knock at the door. That must be it. She opened the door, paid the pizza man, and brought the pizza to the island. There were numerous paper plates that came with it. Of course, Tim scoffed at them. Michael went over to get a slice. Get your frail hands away from that. She slapped his hand away from the paper plate. Now, my sweet little carpet, we are waiting for Ted. I can reheat the pizza in the oven if I need to. 20 minutes isn't going to kill you. An hour passed. It was 1:50 p.m. in the afternoon. There was not another knock at the door. Jennifer felt discouraged. She was a little concerned for Ted not showing up yet, and there was no communication from him indicating that he was going to be late. I hope he didn't get into an accident. Well, I guess you all can eat now. Why did I feel it necessary to make them wait? Tim, Erin, and Michael immediately went over to get some pizza. Jennifer was tired of listening to Michael complain anyway. She felt Samantha's hand on her shoulder. It'll be fine. I'm sure he got caught on something. I suppose. Jennifer took out her phone and sent another message to Ted. Where are you? She put the phone back in her pocket and slouched her shoulders as she walked to get a slice of pizza and on that dreaded paper plate. Hey, Erin, did you ever follow up with Ted the other day? Michael asked as he took a bite of his pepperoni pizza. He should really have his taste buds checked. Yeah, I did. He only gave me few-word answers, she replied, taking a bite out of her chicken and broccoli. He said he was fine. Well, you know when someone answers that way, they're insecure, Sam said. That's what my boss tells me when I say I'm fine. I'm sure it's nothing, Michael said. As you mentioned before, he works in world markets. I wouldn't be surprised if he was still working and had some remote meeting he forgot to mention. Seriously, Michael, how much does he have to be working if he's doing that? Jennifer exclaimed, gritting her teeth. Erin, didn't you say he was one of these come in early, leave late kind of guys? Tim frowned. That isn't unusual for someone in a high-pressure job, Samantha explained. I do that frequently too. So do I, Michael said. He scratched his chin as he was chewing on his crust. But if I had to guess, he was probably working close to 60 hours per week. That isn't unusual, Jennifer admitted. And if he works on the weekends, wouldn't he be closer to 70 hours? Perhaps, and that's a little extreme, Michael admitted. I would never choose to work that much unless maybe he has a reason. Maybe he just really likes money, Tim said. I mean, if he's in stocks, that's usually the reason. No, that's not it. He admitted that he only does it for something to keep him busy, like he enjoys doing it. He said he has more than enough for him to live off, Michael replied. Honestly, that's impressive. He doesn't seem to be older than any of us, Tim said. Another hour passed. Jennifer received no confirmation from Ted that he was coming or that he was running late. It was 2 hours later than when he said he would show up. Did he lie to her just to get her off the phone? She couldn't discount that possibility. She felt like her heart was heavy. Did I push him too hard? There was a knock on the door. Her smile lit back up again. She rushed over to answer it. She opened the door with a smile on her face, and when she saw who was on the other side, her emotions fell heavily upon her heart, like she was chained to the ground by large boulders and she couldn't move or risk having the weight crush her. Being the polite host she was, she exclaimed enthusiastically, It's Brian! Yeah, it's Brian, he repeated in the third person, nodding his head enthusiastically. Sorry I'm late. Don't fret, my sweet little fox. Come on in. The pizza is here. I was just about to pull out the wine, she said, ushering Brian and Stephen and his little friend Rosa in. Brian was the oldest of them all, nearing his mid-30s. Oh, excellent. Plenty of time for drinking. I brought my own wine, actually. It's from the valley up over in Westford. Wait, really? Samantha asked. I love their wine. It's something about their grapes. Their wines are the best quality. Yeah. He walked over to the island in the kitchen and placed 2 bottles of wine on it. He put the corkscrew in one of them and immediately opened it to allow it to breathe. Brian, Stephen and Rosa went over to the others and started talking about their week. No one brought anything depressing into the conversation. Jennifer was happy they were able to have such a good time in such a small apartment. The games hadn't started yet, but she was beginning to lose hope that Ted would be showing up tonight. You could have at least told me you just didn't want to come. But maybe I shouldn't have put you in that position, forcing you to either lie or hurt my feelings. She pulled out all her wines onto the island and started pouring cups of wine into wine glasses and delivered them to her guests, smiling as she handed each one off. She saved Brian's wine for last. He usually brought the expensive wine anyway. Hey, whatever happened to that newbie? Brian asked. I don't think I ever succeeded in getting him out. I haven't seen him in a while. Are you referring to Ted? Michael's head tilted in response. The one from 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's the one. Brian took a sip of his Cabernet. What happened to him? Did someone scare him off? I don't think so. Actually, he was supposed to be coming tonight, but he hasn't shown up yet, Sam replied. The curve on her lips faded. Well, it's probably nothing to worry about, Brian said. A pity. I wanted to meet him. I never got a chance to say hi to the new guy. Maybe you'll get that chance still tonight, or... A heavy knock at the door interrupted Samantha. Who was that? Jennifer thought. It's way too late for it to be Ted. Of course, at this point she assumed he was no longer coming. I've got it. She walked over to the door. Her hand gripped the handle and turned it. She opened the door wide with a smile as she looked to greet whoever stood behind it. Jennifer breathed heavily as she looked at him in the doorway. She felt her smile drop to a frown as her heart raced, and she couldn't quite make out the emotions her heart was trying to feel. Was she angry, upset, excited? She couldn't tell, but her hands trembled at her side. She grimaced at the man as his presence suddenly made her angry. You know, Tedward, when you tell me you're going to be here around 1, I expect you to be here around 1, maybe 15 minutes late or so, but around 1. It's 4 o'clock. I already told everyone you'd be here at 1. Would you make a liar out of me? She said with an uplifted tone. The room filled with laughter went silent. The silence was deafening, and Jennifer scratched the back of her neck. He gave her a polite bow. My apologies, milady. For you see, I just couldn't bring it upon myself to come to some kind of party without bringing something of value to my beloved host. He spoke very smoothly, and he was not at all flirtatious. He seemed very sincere. He took out a large bottle of wine, a red wine, and of a fine glass, a fine bottle with the price tag ripped off. Jennifer's eyes lit up as she immediately grabbed the bottle from his hand and read the label. This is Colossus Rome Red Carbielli. What? Brian called over. Carbielli? Jen, put my wine back in the cooler. You can't get much better wine than that. Ted, that's a $1,200 bottle of wine. Where did you get this? More importantly, why would you give it to me? She knew the value of such a brand of wine was only reserved for the finest of occasions, and not something easily obtainable in the United States. This was strictly imported from the wineries of Rome. I'm not going to keep it around my house, he replied. It's much better shared among friends. An expensive vintage such as the Carbielli, imported from Rome, an expensive wine meant to be enjoyed slowly. Yet such a gift should not be squandered, and then again Jennifer found herself wondering why in God's name he would think to bring such an expensive wine as a gift. The bottle of wine costs more than some pay for rent individually. She was not going to squander the gift lest he felt offended, despite the social insult of providing such an expensive gift. She also took special notice of his sudden tonal change in the word friends, and she couldn't ignore that. What exactly did he mean? Come on in, she invited him, immediately changing her tone from ire to a sense of joy. There is pizza. I know you said you ate already, but it's here if you want it. I appreciate the sentiment, he answered as he walked through the apartment, scanning the room, as if to read the reaction of each person. Samantha walked up to him. I'm glad you came. I'm glad I made it. He smiled to her. The bags under his eyes were puffy. Jennifer put one of Brian's unopened bottles of wine in the cooler, pouring out opened bottles into several wine glasses. She uncorked a bottle of Carbielli. She placed it on the counter, where she would let it breathe for an hour. This was such a gracious and unnecessary gift. Ted, why? Feeling self-conscious, she delivered the poured glasses to every one of her friends in the room, and yes, she considered Ted a friend among them, despite not knowing him for very long. Ted, why did you hesitate? The party drank all of Brian's wine and allowed the entirety of the hour to pass by, speaking until the Carbielli had completely breathed. The party grabbed their now empty wine glasses and got into a line. Jennifer poured Ted's glass first. He smiled that impeccable smile. There was something soothing about it, like the genuine smile of someone who knew no pain, who knew only the kindness of the world and was sheltered from the many horrible physical, psychological traumas from the world. He was always in a safe place. Jennifer poured the wine into the empty glasses, filling them halfway so she could distribute it equally to everyone in the party. The party stood around in a circle, and Michael raised his glass up. A toast to friends all under one roof. Some we have been with since high school, and others are newer than some. He smiled, specifically looking at Ted. And let us not forget to thank Jennifer for hosting us this evening, for we wouldn't be here without her, and I doubt Ted would have made it without her. Cheers! Cheers! The rest of the party repeated in unison. They all took a sip of the Carbielli. Jennifer let the wine sift through her lips before tasting the sweet and bitter arrays of the beverage. It was, without a doubt, the finest wine she had ever laid her lips upon. She had spent years drinking a number of wines, but all paled in comparison to this legendary bottle shipped all the way from Rome. No wonder this wine is so pristine,